So yesterday I started walking through the woods looking for bricks, seeing if I could find any brands of bricks I haven't seen yet, and I actually found one. Salamander. I've never heard of this before. Must be a pretty rare brick. And the history behind it is actually pretty cool. I'm kind of curious how many bricks... Oh. Is that... No, it doesn't look like a salamander, but it looks very similar. Well, that's interesting. But yeah, salamander bricks. They're kind of cool. Oh, this might be some more. I didn't even see these before. Yeah, it's another salamander. Oh my god. Well, that's even better because I had a whole little story planned for these. That's different. KX. There might be another piece of that one. Wow. There's more bricks here than I expected. Makes sense though, because I guess they would have had like a tiny building here or something. Well, I wanted to see if I'm making a little series about the history of bricks, if I can find them, and I definitely found a little bit of history about the salamander bricks. So, let's take these back and talk about them. So I have all these bricks lined up according to their lettering. So you can see this one's missing part of both sides. That's only missing one side, and this is a full brick. Well, these bricks were made from about 1825 and maybe up to about 1900. So these could be like almost 200 years old, but most likely they're about 150 or so. I find it interesting, the lettering. I really like how it looks. It's a nice indentation to where it's like it's perfectly round. At least it seems like that. Although that could just be the age or the production method. But either way, the imprint that it left is really nice. I like how the bottom part is a little wider than the top part. It has a neat style to it. I really like the texture and the color of it. I'm a fan of lighter colored bricks, especially these fire bricks. The Salamander Brickworks of New Jersey, which made these, I believe, specialized in fire bricks and things for like kilns and whatnot. So these are most likely for that, for like a fireplace or a furnace of some sort. There actually was a bottling plant right around here in Hillsboro, Illinois, that maybe they had a big kiln made of these, and whoever worked there, when they tear that down, people took it home. So maybe there's like a small amount of these kind of strewn everywhere. I'm not sure. It's interesting that these bricks came all the way from New Jersey, though. So I spent 2 days researching this, and I have found a sizable amount of stuff. More than I thought I would have found just from one word on a brick. So, there's actually two companies called Salamander from about that time. And, well, two brick manufacturers. And it happens to be they both specialized in making fire bricks, which is kind of interesting. Although it seems like the New Jersey company specialized in making pottery and stuff near the later half of the 1800s. So, these bricks, if they were made by the New Jersey company, which I think they were, these could be from 1825 to like 1860 or 1870. I'm not really sure. I couldn't really get much information about the fire brick aspect of it, because a lot of the documentation went towards like the pottery and things they made. Well, here's a picture of the Salamander Works #1 Woodbridge, New Jersey brick. I would assume that this is probably a much older brick. So these bricks that I have that don't have the circular logo around them, they are most likely a little bit older. I'm not sure. I'm just guessing though. It's interesting that they would have two different types of brands. And then the one up on top is actually from the New York company. And that one was called the Albany, or Salamander and Albany Brickworks. And that company I can't really find much more information about. I only had two mentions of it in the 1860s. It seems to be just a very short-lived name of a bunch of brickworks that went together and kind of merged. So I'm thinking the Albany Brickworks in New York, those weren't related, and it's most likely not where these bricks came from. But it's still interesting, and whenever I find some bricks of those, I'll definitely spend more time researching that. Although there's not that much information about it. That's kind of how I expected a lot of this stuff to be. However, for the Salamander Brickworks in Woodbridge, New Jersey, I was able to find several pages of information about it. From this one book, Woodbridge is New Jersey's oldest township. There was a clipping of it on the Google Docs or something. I'm not sure. The place where you can find books on Google. And the chapter Clay, the lifeboat of Woodbridge, they actually have a very detailed documentation, far more detailed than I would have expected, of the actual, like, all the owners and how it's changed hands and whatnot. Well, it looks like the company was founded in 1825, and so it says founded in 1825 by Salamander Brickworks, founded by Gage Inslee and Renee Perdices. Perdices? Those are interesting words. Is that like a Greek name? I'm not really sure. I have a hard time understanding, like, ethnicities of, like, figuring out where the names are from. Located on Rahway Avenue near Herds Brook. Now it's Parker Press Park in Woodbridge, New Jersey. And I was actually able to find that place. It's kind of interesting. So they must have had this whole block here, and that must have been the Salamander, Woodbridge, New Jersey Brickworks. And I find that kind of cool. Now I think it's like a train station and like a park and a couple buildings. And there's even a little information that's kind of interesting about that we're going to have to get back to whenever I reveal some relevant information. So, in 1835, 10 years after the formation, Peter Medlick sold 23 acres of land to Perdices to expand the company. I'm thinking it's most likely one of these two pieces of land. And so that's kind of interesting that there's actually documentation of it being expanded. And that actually kind of still affects the layout of that part of the town. In 1837, Salamander Brickworks was purchased by Mitchell LeFoulin. That's an interesting name. June 1842. It's actually getting down to, like, at the actual months that it happened. June 1842, LeFoulin sold Salamander to Jules Decassi, which actually I was able to find a listing from 1854, I think, or 1834, I'm not really sure, where it says L. Decassi for firebricks at Salamander Brickworks. So that's interesting. That would have been later, though. That listing must have been, because, like, L. Decassi is his son. So, like, that's the other thing. In 1850, it was transferred to his son, Louis Decassi. Decasse? I don't know. I'm probably fucking up the names. It's hard to tell, like, it's hard to judge where the name came from and to understand then, you know, the right pronunciation. Oh, well. So that I slightly doubt the year on that piece of paper. Oh, maybe that 3 is a 5. It looks like it has, like, a funky font from the 1800s, and it's like a weird typewritten font. So maybe that is a 5, so 1854. That would make more sense because it was transferred to Lewis in 1850, in April 1850. Then in 1876, William Poylan purchased the Salamander Brickworks. And actually, it seems to have stayed in the Poylan family until I don't know what happened to it. But it seems to have gone through a lot. And in 1896, the factory was destroyed by fire. So in 1896, boom, no more bricks. For at least a little bit. Then, in 1901, Poylan's family purchased a new kiln for the Salamander Brickworks. It's, I think, his 2 daughters that made it, which would be Clara Poylan and Mary Poylan. And, oh, I totally missed this line, who had previously opened a pottery factory in Jersey City. Oh, okay. Because I was going to say, they also mentioned that they had merged, they had invested in a new kiln after the big factory fire. They invested in a new kiln for the Salamander Woodbridge Brickworks because they needed to get production back up, and they moved production there. I didn't even see that line. I was like, but what production did they move there? That makes sense. That's whenever they started the pottery, or at least their venture into the pottery market, and they moved that from Jersey City to Woodbridge. And that's kind of interesting because then it seems like after that point, the main focus of Salamander was on pottery and stuff like that, which actually, there's actually a nice couple paragraphs right here where it seems that they actually ventured into, like, making paintable pottery, because back then, I mean, I remember my great grandmother telling me that, oh yes, paintable pottery was huge back then. And so it seems like that was more of the main focus, and they even like got to go to the St. Louis Exposition in 1904 and stuff like that. That's pretty cool. But then after that, I don't really know much else about the company. It's kind of difficult. It looks like they say sometime later that the factory closed. So I'm guessing maybe 1905, 1910. Although, I think it says that the Salamander factory was closed, not the actual like production of and the use of the Salamander name. So I'm not really sure what happened to that, because it says the company later closed its Woodbridge factory and relocated to Trenton. So I can't find any information about there being a Salamander factory in Trenton, though. It's weird. Although, speaking of the Poylan family, I've actually traced down a little bit, and I actually contacted the granddaughter of Mary Poylan, which is, or is it, I guess if it's French, it'd be Poylan. I'm not really sure. I suck at French pronunciation, which is funny because I have a French last name in real life. Whatever. Anyway, so here's one more thing. I found a picture of William Poylan. Now it looks like there was two William Poylans served in the American Civil War, and were from New York also. And William Poylan bought the Salamander factory a few years after the end of the Civil War. And he's mentioned as being, I think, if I remember right, a rich New Yorker. So one of these might be William Poylan. I'm not really sure, but I mean, you have two William Poylans, and a lot of people were drafted into the whole conflict. So I don't know. It's interesting. Well, I happened to find Mary Poylan's granddaughter and sent her an email, and so I asked for a bunch of things like, hey, if you just have any like old pictures, information about the Salamander Brickworks or anything, then I would love to hear. So if I hear back from them, or yeah, if I hear back from her, I'm definitely going to make an updated version of this with any new information I find, because it's like, hey, I'm getting somewhere. I'm finding stuff. I feel like I've actually found enough information of it to be happy and be like, oh, there's actually a story behind that. So yeah, from 1825 to about early 1900s. But these bricks most likely are not even from the 1900s. They're, from what I can tell, the production of bricks kind of fell off and they just went to pottery. So I don't know. If I can't find any more information about this, I'm going to just assume that these bricks were made, these fire bricks were made by the Salamander Brickworks from 1825 to 1890 or so. I think that's a pretty fair estimate. And then I'm going to assume that the one with the round logo on it is an older one. So let's say this is from 1850 to 1890. You know, that's just my rough guess, rough estimate. But I feel like it's better than nothing. While I was editing, I realized that I hadn't talked about the one secret that I noticed. This street is called Poylan Street. That's the owners of the Salamander Brickworks. This completely cements it in my mind that, without a doubt, this is where the Salamander Brickworks were. And I think that's pretty amazing. I wonder if I can check when this street was made. That might give some interesting information. I almost can't believe it. I'm actually like doing research and shit. This is almost like a little mini documentary. Wow. I'm actually getting information that other people don't seem to have really put together. So, I'm going to spend a lot more time collecting bricks and probably going into the woods and walking around looking for bricks, because I would love to pave this entire work area for when I really want to start doing projects and have a nice like workshop back here. These are definitely going to be nice. Well, I would love to hear what you guys think, and maybe if you find any more information about the Salamander Brickworks, that'd be cool. But I think this is pretty good for at least one brand of bricks. I can't wait to do this stuff. Oh yeah, do you think I should mark the names so it's easier to read? I'm not really sure, because like dirt has gone into that one because it's a very deep groove, and so it's easy to read, but that one's kind of difficult to read. Well, I think I have a new lead on what to look at next. I've never noticed this brick before. Dando. And here I've been walking over it for years. Interesting. Speaking of bricks, that I most likely won't make a video about these ones, so let's talk about them. These happen to be from a old theater from the 1910s that my grandfather tore down on his land to make a nice big garden, and he always had a big pile of bricks. And actually, I'm getting to take all those bricks over, so I'm going to get even more and help pave the back of the workshop. And these ones are from an old train station that was torn down in the 1980s. These were used as, well, I'm not really sure if they were used as much, but the train station was kind of pushed over just to act as like material to stop erosion. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. So I believe the train station was made around 1880 or so. So these are actually pretty old. I also like how they look. They're just really nice. I believe this is called a frog, the little indentation. It's kind of interesting. I definitely have a lot of those. I actually built a little wagon for my bicycle a long time ago. I got these back in 2006 or so, and I went down there and I just loaded it up and took like 3 trips back. It was really fun. Well, that's pretty much it. Enjoying of bricks. Oh, I know what I'll call this. I will call this Brickeology. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this very first episode of Brickeology, and please let me know what you guys think. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thank you very much for watching. See ya!